Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So pumped to have you here. My name is Nico Rapclis, if you're new around these parts. This is a really special episode. This is with my good friend, Katie Kyleen. And this is the most recent podcast event that we did. It was such a special night. We all dressed in white. There was probably around 140 amazing human beings there. Matt Gottesman emceed the whole thing. We did a meditation after the fact. And it was one of the most powerful conversations that I've had up to date. So you're not going to want to miss a single second of this episode. Before we do jump in, I want to let you know about our Authentic Influence Masterclass that we are having on Tuesday, November 26th at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is going to be a masterclass all about how to build your authentic brand so that you can manifest premium clients, meaningful relationships, and an abundance of opportunities, specifically speaking opportunities. And we use a framework known as Woo and Do, and we also use some AI as well. So it's going to be one of the most profound masterclasses that I've ever put together. This is probably some of my best work, and what I'm most excited about these days, and what has been truly transforming our clients. So I'm ready to reveal it all for free on this live masterclass. So if you'd like to register and join us, we'd love to have you. The link is down in the video description in the show notes. But without further ado, let's jump into this interview and conversation with Katie Kyleen. Oh, we're just going to dive in because we have some really cool talking points that we definitely want to cover. So, Katie, let's start talking about the 3 levels of manifestation. Where do we start there?
Can I start by saying I am so grateful that we manifested a room full of people wearing the most breathtaking white clothes. You guys all look like angels, and I'm so grateful. Yes. Thank you. Seeing you all walk in is just so heart-opening. Thank you guys for putting so many hours aside just to be here, for finding white clothes. I got so many white clothes complaints. Look at Charlie's head. He hated it. So I'm just so grateful for this manifestation here, and I'm just so privileged and honored to be with you all, and I know you feel the same.
Definitely. Yeah. Really appreciate it. And to the white clothes point, it's not easy to find white clothes, as we've discovered right this time of the year.
I'm like, why did I pick that theme?
Yeah, okay. But this really is really special. I've thrown a lot of events, and I'm already blown away by being able to work with Katie and just seeing how everything operates with her. It's a true blessing, and it's a huge reason why everyone's here. So just honored to be up here with you.
Same here. Guys, I've worked with so many people, and I don't think I've ever had so much joy in my life working with Nico. This man is incredible. So I feel equally as honored. Okay, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's get the
show
on the road. So with manifestation, there's 3 levels. And it really starts out first of not being aware. Because a lot of times, whether it's trauma, whether it's whatever happened in our early lives, we're kind of just operating from those paradigms. And there's basically 4 levels of competence. And it starts out with unconscious incompetence, meaning you just don't know what you don't know. You have these blind spots. You have these patterns that keep repeating, and you don't even realize why.
Yeah. And as Nika was saying, in those 3 levels of manifestation, that first level is really where most of the world is operating, which is they don't even know that they are creators. You know, they go around with life just happening to them and it hits them so hard. And in that level of unconscious manifestation, we're such victims. And how many of you have been in there just in this lifetime? I know I have, you know, just unconsciously being in manifestation, not even realizing it. And then we have the second level of manifestation, and that's when you really start to awaken and your manifestations start becoming more conscious. And that's when there's vision boards and visualization, and you use your mind's eye to create what it is that you want. And that is conscious manifestation. And it only happens after you've reached a level of awakening, which every single one of us in this room has, because we're a pretty cool group, right? And then we have the third level of manifestation, and this is a level that's not spoken about very often, and it's co-creation manifestation. It's co-creating with God. It's co-creating with the divine. And most people in the spiritual world step in and out of this level of manifestation, because in order to manifest on this level, you have to be in alignment with God's will. And that's not always easy. And so this third level of manifestation is where you're not manifesting with your mind anymore. You're not visualizing anymore. You're now manifesting by listening to your soul. And your soul and your mind always have 2 different voices. And this level of co-creation manifestation is why we are all here tonight, because this is the place that we create miracles from, is co-creation manifestation.
Yeah, and it's really about like developing that relationship with God, as opposed to thinking that we're in control. Which it's like we can do it. Just like she talked about, level 2 is like you're kind of trying to control everything, and it's like you're not feeling good, and then you feel good once you fulfill it, and you're just kind of playing that dance, that back and forth. But as opposed to this, just like with any relationship, you're just building that relationship, so then the creator can be the one that's providing everything. And it's not easy, because oftentimes what I'll always say is that it's same gift, different wrapping. And so we want these things, but it doesn't ever go the way we think it does, and we end up getting what we want. It's like I think about this lately. It's like God's in the passenger, or in the driver seat. I'm in the passenger seat, and every once in a while I like tug on the steering wheel, and he's pulling it back, and then he takes me through these dips and these turns, and all of a sudden I'm like being thrown all over the place, and then we get to the place that I wanted to go anyways.
Which is so beautiful. And that's the tug between the unconscious manifestation, the conscious manifestation, and the co-creation, and going back and forth between all of those, which is so incredible. And we all go through it. Yeah.
It's quite the dance, but it's like, I really believe that it's the maturity level as you continue to go on your path. Because when we start out, again, we're just unaware. Then we're like, oh, I can be aware, and I can create all these things with my mind, which is incredible. But then it almost like, it just creates this like roller coaster effect.
Yeah.
And I would much rather play the peace game of just, all right, God, what do you got for me? Let me listen to you more.
And when you're saying, all right, God, what do you got for me? This is where divine timing comes into place. And this is what is, for me personally, one of the hardest things. Because divine timing is saying that it's going to happen when the Creator ordains it to, even though I can't see the entire picture. And for an impatient person like me, that's really hard sometimes, because just to give you an example, let's just say there's a woman in her 40s, or a guy in his 40s or 50s, and wanting to be in a soulmate relationship. And the guy or the girl says, Creator, this is the year I'm going to meet my soulmate. This is the year, Creator. And the Creator kind of looks down and says, child, It's in 4 years' time, just so you know. That's when your soulmate is coming. But then that person's mind may fight back and say, but I'm ready. How many more years do you want me to be single? Can't you see I'm so ripe? Haven't you seen all the spiritual work I've done? Right? All of those things that come up. And so that's why with co-creation manifestation, we're aligning with divine timing. And sometimes the mind cannot wrap itself around the creator's timing, which makes it harder. And that's why I always say the highest road sometimes is the most patient one.
And you said you're impatient, and I resonate with that as well. Does anyone else? Anyone else? Yes.
Please, guys, put your hands up. Don't let me be here alone. Okay.
And then I heard this quote recently. I was reading a really powerful book called The Creative Act. It's been really powerful for me lately, if anybody is intrigued with that. But the quote in the book was, impatience is arguing with the universe.
Oh. Yep.
Because if you're thinking that it's still on your time, just what you're saying. So if you're like, I'm so, I should be ready. It's like, you're not getting it.
Totally.
Surrender, let go.
And I don't know about you guys, but so many things have just not happened on my personal timeline. We all have this timeline of life, right? By this age, this is going to be like this, by this age. But when I tap in and look at it from the creator's perspective, it's like we're actually right on path. It's just our mind, is the impatient one, right? The psyche part of our mind. But what's so beautiful is when we align to the creator's will and go into conscious co-creation with the creator, then anything that's built through the creator's hands is so sturdy that the foundation can never break. And no one can ever break it. So it's worth the wait. It's worth being in co-creation, conscious co-creation with the creator, instead of dropping back to your second form of manifestation, which is manifesting through your mind, right?
And that's what, even you saying that right now, I don't think we even talked about this, or I probably haven't even acknowledged this with you, but I do recall the first time I met you, and there was just like this sturdiness to you. There's this foundation to you that was like, why is she so like strong in herself? And I feel like it's because you embody this so much of being so trusting in the creator rather than you doing it on your timeline.
I try from 9 to 5, then by 6 o'clock it kind of rains. And then I try again tomorrow, 9 to 5. But thank you.
Yeah, well, we just have to keep on reminding ourselves, because we can quickly lose that too. I think, if you're not intentional about this, you can quickly oscillate through after you kind of wake up, you're not as much in the unconscious anymore, but you can, at least I've experienced it for myself, is that I can oscillate from the conscious to the co-creation if I'm not being like super intentional and grounded in my practices.
Totally. And when we first start with our spirituality, they tell us like, you can create everything you want from your mind, just visualize it, all of that stuff. And for years, that's what I did until I started having a relationship with the creator, and I realized the divine's plans for us is so much bigger than what our mind is trying to map. And it's also so much more protective for our souls, and that's why this third level of manifestation, co-creation manifestation, is not spoken about very often. People speak a lot about visualize it and then create it, but nobody talks about when you're in a deep relationship with God, the creator has this set plan and path for you. And this plan and path sometimes does not align with the one that your mind has for you, and that itself is so mind-blowing.
And another quote that has come to me, I went to a retreat, shout out Middle Finger Mantras right here. We were talking about around the campfire and talking through some challenges, some relationships, and a quote that just hit so hard is because I was resisting. I was thinking it was on my timeline. But someone said, it couldn't have happened any other way. And when I really continue to remind myself, it's like, I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat.
Yeah, and that's that moment where he drops into co-creation energy, literally in that moment. That's incredible. Yeah. But just because, here's the thing with God's will, is everything that's happening in our life a part of God's will? No. And I'll tell you why. If that were the case, our world would be in peace. We veer out of God's will every single day when we make our actions out of fear and not out of love. So we're constantly moving from unconscious manifesting to co-creation, unconscious manifesting to co-creation. Yeah. So not everything that comes to us is our highest destiny. Now, as spiritual beings, we always make the best out of it, right? We always take the lessons, we take the nuggets, we take all the goodness. But just because someone comes onto our path doesn't mean that person is our soulmate. Just because, we meet this awesome person doesn't mean they're meant to be our work partner, right? And that's why alignment with the Creator's will is so important, because it helps you to decipher between the two. And the more you align with the Creator's will, the more you are in co-creation with the Creator.
And our next note, it says, how can we get into this state of conscious manifestation? And so one thing that I always like to approach things like this, as opposed to asking the how. I like to ask, what does that look like? What does that feel like, instead of the how? Because you have to be careful with the word how, especially how you ask it. Is it with a question mark? Is it with a period? Because if it's like how, you're kind of bringing this energy of like, no, that can't happen. So you have to be careful with that word. But that's why I like asking, like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And so something that we were talking the other day, and this download came to me, because I'm big on building relationships. I'm big on building relationship with myself. I'm big on building relationship with God. I'm big on building relationships with other people. And so one of the things I talk about a lot is like the container that allows you to build relationships is time. And so then the download that came in, I'm sure who's here familiar with like the love languages, right? What we came to is that God's love language is quality time.
Oh, that is so good, guys. God's love language is quality time. You need to turn that into a t-shirt. It's so good.
Because it's, I like this phrase too, is like, because someone will say, I'm all about accountability, right? And so when someone says like, oh, I love God, and I'm like, okay, check your receipts. Like, how much money are you investing into God? How much energy, how much time? Like, just show me how you're living your life, and that'll tell me how much you love God.
Totally. And I remember there was this Indian guru, he said, just give God 10% of your day. 10% of our day is 2.5 hours. I say, just give God 5% of your day. Like fellow Americans, like let's start with 5% of our day, right? And that's just an hour, right? And if we want to get into co-creation and we want to stay in co-creation all the time, it doesn't happen just by engaging your mind with the Creator. You have to engage your soul with the Creator. And let me tell you what the difference is. When you engage your mind with the Creator, you feed your mental energy, which is beautiful. We should all do it. That's the journaling. That's the book reading. That's taking time to reflect. Those are all the ways we engage our mind with the Creator. But engaging our soul with the Creator is sitting, closing your eyes, and letting the presence literally flood through you. Because the soul is not interested in thoughts, it's interested in spirit. And spirit is our manifesting force when we are in conscious co-creation. The mind is no longer a manifesting force, spirit is. And so how do we get into co-creation energy? Think of it as if there's a cup of water, and this cup of water is the blessings that God wants to give us to, let's just say, heal something in our physical body that's been bothering us. And in order for us to fully heal, we have to fully drink this cup of water. We have to drink these blessings. How can we drink that blessings if we're not giving God quality time for its presence to literally flood through us? And that's how we get into the conscious co-creation manifestation, is by actually allowing for the presence to come through and flood through you. And how does that happen? For some people, that happens in church. For others, it happens during an energy healing session. For some people, they just sit alone and open up their channel and let the presence come through. But we want the presence to literally come through and mold our energy.
Yeah, that's something that's been really pertinent for me lately, because I feel like even sometimes I still will just do the things to check it off. I'll wake up, do my meditation, read the Bible, like I do all these things. But sometimes like it just becomes a little bit more of a check off. And so what I've been praying about lately is like, God, let me feel you.
Yes.
I want to like really like
Yeah.
understand you. I want to feel you. I want to be in your presence. And that's what it feels to me. Because the more that I just do the check off list, then the more that I get away from the feeling. But the more that I just tap in and be with him and just say, let me feel you, like put your presence in me, let flow through me like you're talking about. That's when I start to feel it, and then it just continues to get stronger and stronger.
And that's when the miracles happen. That's when the miracles happen. So I'm not saying don't do your journaling, do your book writing, but actually also give time for the presence of the Creator to flow through you as well, because that's when the miraculous happens. It's when spirit contacts your soul.
And then in terms of just, again, the relationship side of things, like as mentioned, I'm very big on being intentional with the relationships that I'm building. Myself, God, other people. And the reason behind that is like when I build quality relationships with quality people, the quality of my life goes up. And so
You're welcome.
Thank you. And truly, ever since we've been like preparing for this event, like it's been a true blessing.
He has to say that.
It's right there in the notes. Say it. Contract right now. And so, when we look at relationships, we look at like valuable relationships. This person is inspiring. They're resourceful. They have resources. Whatever it is that you look for in them, that's why you'd want to build a relationship. There's an even energy exchange, right? And what we wrote down here is, and think about this, is like, okay, but who's the ultimate plug? Like, who's the ultimate relationship that has like everything? So if you build a strong relationship with God, like he's the ultimate plug.
Exactly. And I remember I had this one experience once where I was trying to lean in on someone to get something that I really wanted in my life. And I remember hearing the Creator's voice saying, "It is not man that supplies you, it is me." Like, pull your energy back from this person and lean in on me, because God is the ultimate plug for all the miracles, for everything it is in our life that we want to be supplied with. And I want to say, I'm so sorry for those that don't like the word God. You can spirit, creator, source, whatever you're comfortable with. Please exchange it in your head. Yeah. And another thing too is, for the Creator, there is no order of difficulty in creating miracles for you. So for the creator, you having a Toyota or a Ferrari is equally as easy. Or you healing from a cold, or you healing from cancer, it's equally as easy for the creator to supply you with that miracle, whatever it is that you want. There's no order of difficulty for the creator to manifest miracles at all. And so if it's easy for the creator, what's the hang up? Like where's the hang up coming from? Because it ain't coming from the divine, right?
Yeah, it's really our rate of acceptance.
Those words, I feel I want to tattoo on my forehead.
I could.
Yeah.
Good look. I could do it.
Thank you. Stay away from my forehead.
And I have a quick story that I'd like to share about this. And it was really kind of my first experience with manifestation. It was after I read the book, The Secret. And I realized, and that kind of comes back into like more of the second level, but they had you do some exercises in there. And they would say like, visualize seeing a dollar bill. Like, because there's very little resistance on a dollar. Oh, sure. Anyone can find a dollar bill, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kept doing that. And then like literally a day or two later, I went to the mall and found a $5 bill on the ground. And so I think that the difference between manifesting a dollar versus the Ferrari is just our rate of acceptance, because again, we're like, oh yeah, we could accept the dollar bill, but then for whatever reason, it's harder for the Ferrari.
Exactly. And so it's not the creator. The creator is ready to deliver. However, the creator will only deliver if it's a true heart's desire. And so what does that mean? A sincere, genuine heart's desire. I had a man come to me once and he said, this is an actual Ferrari story. And I just thought of it when you said that. He said, Katie, I want you to ask the creator if it's time for me to get my Ferrari. Ever since I was a young kid, that's all I've ever wanted was a Ferrari. And I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking serious? Like, this is why you're hiring me right now? But you know what? I stayed open because I actually felt he had such a big desire for this Ferrari. And so we went into session, and I'll never forget this. The creator came through like a strong wave, and the creator said, my son, I know how much you want this car. However, in the next few years, your kids are going to college, and it's so important for them to go to a good college because they have such bright futures if only you support them. And so in that moment, the creator is saying, that's not sincere to your soul. Taking your kids through college now is what's sincere to your soul. So with co-creation, manifestation, you can't manifest things that aren't in true alignment with the desire of your soul. And that's one of those stories right there. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be so genuine, it has to be so sincere, and it has to be so aligned with your soul, not just your lower desire body.
Yeah, and I think those three words are really good. Is genuine, sincere, like just truthful.
Yeah.
Like it's true to your heart. Because another thing I've thought about, I heard this probably a few months back, and and I think this really comes back to like the three levels again, more so like level 2 and level 3, is when you are not sincere, when it's coming from just your earthly body and your lust, your desires for it, as opposed to the creator, you're dropping into, it's not as like true, it's not as sincere. And because of that, then it doesn't work. Yeah, that's why it has to be sincere. It has to be truthful. Otherwise it's not true. And I think about this is that it's kind of like this 2-year-old want energy.
Yeah.
I don't have Ferrari. I want Ferrari.
Is that what your 2-year-old sounded like? Okay.
No, but when it's again coming back to the whole thing about like God, what do you have in store for me? Like, what is it? And
Yeah.
then being sincere about that, that's when you're open to it. And that's when the rate of acceptance actually comes in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of desires that we have that really are genuine. Like, there are a lot of desires we all have that really are sincere, you know? The desire to protect our family, the desire to protect our kids, desire to step into our purpose, the desire for health, healing. All of these desires are so incredibly genuine, you know? So I don't want it to come across as we're very ingenuine people. We all have extremely genuine desires in our heart. Now, how fast you receive your miracle depends on your rate of acceptance. So if we go into rate of acceptance, what does that mean? Rate of acceptance is how much of the Creator's blessing can you allow in at one go. So remember that cup, and in order for us to fully drink that cup, that's when the miracles are received. Sometimes we can't drink all of that cup, all of those blessings at once. We can only sip at it bit by bit. And I have a story about this guy. And he came in for a session and he said, Katie, I want to know what my purpose is here on earth. And I said, okay, this is a beautiful intention. So we went into a session, and within the first hour, after the first hour, the Creator came through and said, my son, you're an amazing cook. You should be a chef. And the Creator continued to say, if you hone into these cooking abilities that you have, by the time you pass, you will have 5 restaurants that you will pass down to your kids. And this will be a beautiful legacy. And he came out of the session, and we were talking and debriefing, and he's like, that was the most bullshit reading I have ever received. And I'm like, really? And he's like, I don't want to be a chef. He's like, you know, I love cooking for my friends when they come, like for a special occasion if I'm hosting them, but that's about it. Other than that, I don't really like to cook. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, and you know, my favorite thing I did with my grandma when I was young is cooking in her kitchen. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, no, cooking's not for me. Oh, and when I'm on Instagram, I love finding new recipes for my wife and kids to try, and I'll even cook it for them. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, did I tell you about that time I did this taste testing competition where they put a blindfold on me and I could taste all the ingredients without even seeing it? I'm like, are you freaking blind? Like, what the hell, you know? And he's like, yeah, but that's not my purpose. And I could clearly see it in this guy's soul, guys. Like, I could clearly see the energy in this guy's soul. So he left, and I'm irritated, very irritated. So I get back into channel, and I say, Creator, I don't get it. It's so obvious to me. Why isn't it obvious to him? And the Creator said, my daughter, he's not ready to accept it yet. Because in order for him to step into this new purpose, he has to accept that this is a gift he would love doing. He has to accept that there's deeper mission in his heart that he's not very connected to right now. He would have to accept that he can create a business from his creativity instead of the corporate world. And there were all these layers of things he would have to accept in order for him to step into his purpose first. And that's what I mean by the rate of acceptance. Sometimes we can't accept that full cup at once. we can only accept it in little bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Matt and I were even going back and forth with some voice messages this week, and we were talking about the same concept. We phrased it as manifestation momentum. Because I think there's kind of this misnomer that it's like manifestation is this massive thing. It is the Ferrari. It is whatever, the relationship, the soulmate. But it's like, how can we start building up the traction of manifesting? How can we start acclimating to those manifestations and building up the proof almost? You start believing it a little bit more every time. And that comes back into, there's a difference between intellectually understanding this stuff and embodying it.
Yeah.
And the way that you actually embody it is you continue to take that practice of a little bit more, and you build up that momentum till you actually start truly embodying it instead of just thinking, again, Ferrari, soulmate. It's like you just slowly build into like actually believing it and being embodied, and therefore that's when it comes in the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, just like that guy, he wanted his purpose, but he wasn't really ready to embody it. He really wasn't. Like maybe after leaving, maybe for the first year, he only wrapped his mind around the fact that what would it even look like if I opened a restaurant? Because that's as far as he was able to embody it. And that's where our rate of acceptance comes in. And guys, we can't judge our rate of acceptance. We can't. There are certain things that we can accept very quickly, and the miracles and the manifestation can happen so quickly. There's certain things we have to work on for years. And it's just like he said, a little bite size at a time, little tiny pieces at a time. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Whether something comes to you in 4 days or something comes to you in 5 years, it's just as miraculous. Yeah, so let's not judge our rates of acceptance.
So the next thing that I'd love to talk about is, all this sounds amazing. What oftentimes gets in the way? What are the challenges with manifestations? Because I think like there's this concept known as inversion thinking, and it's really powerful. And it's basically, instead of thinking about, just for this example, it's like instead of thinking about what you want, you think about what you don't want, and then you just invert it, and then you'll know what you want. But you can use that literally for anything. And so I think this is a really powerful question is, okay, basically up to this point, we've been talking about how do we get better at manifesting? Now, let's talk about how do we get worse at manifesting?
Actually, I love the way you kind of spun it around.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I can tell you. Yeah.
I got plenty of stuff
Yeah,
I can share with
I
you.
know. I can tell you how I suck. What gets in the way of our manifesting? Our lower desire body and temptations get in the way of our co-creation manifesting. Because our lower desire body and temptations have this voice of their own, and it's so loud. And it takes so much of our attention. So let's go back to the man or woman that wanted a soulmate. And the Creator said, actually, it's 4 years down the line. Let's just say that person accepted it. Okay, for 4 years, I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to stay connected to the divine because that's my only job. And I'm sure in 4 years' time it will come. So this person is on their path. They're doing good. The manifestation is slowly building in the background. The Creator has already placed the seed. Every day that the person is sitting in the presence, the Creator is watering that seed, watering the seed of the soulmate. And then all of a sudden, one day they go to an event and let's just say it's a lady. The lady sees a delicious man to the right-hand side, and her desire body goes, hello. And what happened in that moment? The Creator's like, no, not that one. Come back, child. That's not the one. You're co-creating with me right now. I have someone else for you. This one's only meant to be a friend. But the desire body's like, lust, delicious, yummy, hello. I already feel it. What's your name? And that is the lower desire body. It has a voice of its own. It pulls you really, really strong. It's super, super loud, very, very overwhelming. And that's what can get in the way of our conscious manifestations, conscious co-creation.
Yeah, and I think it's really powerful. I mean, who relates to that?
Put your hands up, everyone.
Yeah, 2 hands.
Who's a saint in this room? I know half of you.
And it's been interesting over the last, I would say, year. I've had some experiences where, like, immediately, no, is no.
Wow.
Like, oh, she's really hot.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that also, it's like, it doesn't keep on showing it to you. It's like, it's not, hey, no. It's just one time. No. Listen to it or don't listen to it. You decide. You decide how much pain you want to experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you derail off path, it can be very painful. And you know what's interesting too, when you listen to your desire body, it feels so amazing in the moment. So amazing. You know, you have that piece of cake, you're like, why shouldn't I have 3 more slices? You know, so delicious. Or, you know, you have that one night stand and it just feels so incredible in the moment. But the problem with the desire body and listening to it, the lower desire body, is how do you feel after it's done? Because after you've eaten that entire cake and you want to vomit, you know, after, you know, you've had that sex and it's 6 a.m. and you're pulling your clothes and trying to run out of there as fast as you can, doing the walk of shame, how did that feel? Was that honoring to you? Right? And so with the desire body, the way you sometimes know is it feels great in the moment, but it feels absolutely horrible after it's done. You lose a part of yourself, whatever that is.
Yeah. The way I've been the way you explain that, this is another way that I've kind of referred to it as, but I want to play, it's either you're always playing the ROE game. It's either return on energy. So like, what are you getting the most out of the energy that you're putting in and the longevity of that? Or you're playing the return on ego game.
Yeah.
Because like, that's really just an ego play. Oh, this makes me feel better in the moment. This makes me feel more validated. The cake, it tastes better in the moment, but you know, like coming down the road, there's not a whole lot of return on energy. It's a depreciating asset at that point.
Absolutely. And it depreciates you. It diminishes you. Now, again, there's no judgment. We all have different desire bodies. You know, some of us, I don't know, are more prone to emotional eating. Some of us are prone to listening to the call of lust. We'll put it very nicely. You know, some of us are prone to isolating. You know, the desire body can be very, very different. Some of us, you know, can have a little saboteur, you know, in there. So we all have a lower desire body. But when we're watering our plant every day with the Creator and we're stepping into co-creation every day with the Creator, we're giving God quality time, as He said, then the power that our lower desire body has over us loses its strength day by day, and the Creator's desires and will gains more traction in our energy field. That's why when they say, give us this day our daily bread. What is give us this day our daily bread? It's give us our daily blessings, give us our daily manna, give us the daily energy that we need so that we can walk in the highest and best path for us.
And another thing that I definitely want to chime in on in terms of like whether you're falling into those desire bodies, and again, I often refer to more relationships, and it seemed like the audience seemed to resonate with that as well. But when you are, like, when it's a clear no, When we just know, it's like you look at them, you're like, no. When you say yes to the no, you're pushing away the yes.
Yeah.
Like if I see this girl and I'm like, I know it's a no, but I say yes to it, I'm pushing out the one that's really for me.
The ordained one. Yeah, exactly. The one that's chosen for you. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we all have so many things on our path that's ordained, not just ordained love life, but ordained purpose, ordained kids that are meant to come through us, what's ordained on a daily basis, a monthly basis, what's the season of our life for the year. There's so much in our path that is ordained. But here's the thing, guys. The world is such a heavy place, and spirit is so subtle. So if you're not entering into that connection on a day-to-day basis, if you're not having quality time with the Creator on a day-to-day basis, it's very easy to lose track really quickly and forget. Has anyone ever had those moments where one day you're like touching the divine and you're on cloud number 9 and you feel unconditional love and you literally want to hug the cashier at Trader Joe's, because you're in the presence. And then 3 days after it, you're like, why am I even here on earth? Right? Because spirit is so subtle and the world is so heavy, right? So we have to enter into that subtlety every day. And what is the one thing about all humans? We're forgetful. Humans are very forgetful. So because we're so forgetful, that consistency of connection is so important so that we stay on our path of conscious co-creation, manifestation.
Absolutely. And I think this definitely correlates to coming back to just the whole concept of relationships. Think about it when you are building a relationship with somebody, and you're spending a lot of quality time with them. And you're talking to them, you get on the phone, you're texting. Like the relationship is building. It's strengthening. But then what happens? Something happens. Like I even can give you an example. Like I've been talking with a really amazing person that I met recently, and we were talking a lot. And then she went and did a retreat, and she's got a lot going on, and just had a little bit of separation. And then the connection just doesn't feel as strong. And then it's kind of like trying to get back on pace a little bit more, but it's just not the same. And I think about the same thing with the Creator.
And remember too, that what is ordained doesn't fall away so easily. What is ordained has deep stability, has strong foundation, and isn't wavering. So that's a good gauge on also sometimes knowing if something is really ordained for you or not. How strong is the foundation?
And I think about this too, is like, take notice of how you feel. Just like what you're talking about after eating the cake, notice how you feel. But also like when you are deep connecting with the Creator, notice how that feels. And I would even say that, like I feel over the last several months, probably 6 to 8 months, I feel like I've been very, very strong with my practices. And it's been amazing. And then it was a couple weeks ago, I felt like I kind of had a little shift off. And, it wasn't ideal. I was like, oh, that didn't feel great. But that's what I was like, this is actually a big win. Because now I know what it feels like to not be connected. And now I have that dichotomy. And I'm like, okay, that's not it for me. I prefer this way with that deep connection.
Totally. And here's the thing, when you're in the presence very often, it almost becomes uncomfortable to not be in it. Like when you feel the presence of the divine around you, when it's not there, it literally doesn't feel good. Like you get to the point where you get so used to it that you want it there all the time. And one more thing to kind of change the subject a tiny bit is you can get to a place where you're not only holding the presence for you, but for others as well. You can get to a place where you can be in co-creation for those that you love as well. So even if they're not fully connected, you can be in co-creation for them. Your soul's prayers can pull them into conscious co-creation with the Creator. Does that make sense? And you can only do this if the soul agrees, not the mind. The person's mind doesn't have to be in it, but the person's soul must be in consensual agreement in order for you to manifest a miracle for someone else. And if the person's soul is not in agreement, there's nothing you can do to make that happen. And I personally feel that I've learned that the hard way. Has anyone tried to really help someone who's like not ready for help? It's just, there's, if the soul is just not there, there's nothing you can do. And I actually learned this the hard way. I had a client, this was many, many years ago, I want to say maybe 8 years ago, who came in for a session, and he was referred to me by a psychiatrist friend. And he had just gone through rehab and kind of moving out of being an alcoholic. And he was just kind of at the beginning of his process. And he came in for a session, and we spoke for a really long time. I was like trying to get through to him, but I almost felt like I couldn't. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put him on the healing table. Just do your thing, Katie. So I did the session on him, and he went home. And something crazy happened that had never happened to me in my career ever before. I get a call from the psychiatrist the next day, and he had killed himself. And I had never had that happen to me in a session where someone comes and the next day they die. And what had happened was he had drank so much that night because his daughter wasn't there that he fell down the stairs and died. And his daughter didn't have a mom. His daughter had nobody, had to go into foster care. Guys, I was eaten alive by this. I had never had it when someone comes for a session to connect to spirit, and then this happens the next day. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't digest it. Weeks went by. It was racking my brain, and all I kept thinking is, you're here to protect. Why didn't you protect? Like, why wasn't the presence there to protect? I just could not digest this. This went on for an entire month. I even started canceling my sessions. I was so eaten alive by this. And then one night, I saw this dream. I'm in the elevator, and I'm coming up the elevator, and it was like coming up the elevator, I was almost coming into this dimension, this new dimension. And all of a sudden, I saw the guy there that had died, and he was a Christian. And I saw Christ standing right in front of him. And Christ had his hands out like that. And I saw the presence and the energy moving through Christ and into him. And it was just like a waterfall of energy coming through Christ and into him. And then I saw the weirdest thing, like a mirror. He was deflecting it all, like just pushing it all away. And then I heard Christ say, "My daughter, do you see? He is not receiving." And the moment I saw that, this relief came about me, knowing this has nothing to do with me. His soul literally has no acceptance of receiving any miracle. One way or the other, this would have happened. And that was my moment of peace, knowing that. And so, can you consciously create miracles for others? Yes. But does their soul have to be in consensual agreement? Yes. And that I learned that the hard way.
And that's an extremely powerful story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious, and I wonder if anybody else feels similar, is like, what is your perspective, advice to any of us? Because I resonate with that deeply. There's certain people that have been in my life that I've wanted to help the absolute most. And it just feels like I can't get through to them. And I also wonder, is it my role to? And so what do you say to that? Like, I understand that you had that really profound experience, but, and how do we determine, what does that look like what does that feel like when a soul accepts it versus when they don't?
So here's what I always say. Let your channel do your work. Don't give any of your personal energy away. Let your channel always do the work. First of all, if you're giving your personal energy away, it's exhausting. How much of your personal energy can you give? However, your channel, which is your passageway from the Creator, is always open and it's always flowing through and it's bountiful. Like, your channel never gets tired. It can go on day in and day out. So connecting that to what he was saying is, you come to a point in your spiritual practice where you don't give any of your personal energy away anymore, and you let the channel do what it wants to within all those that are in your life. And your job is to not enter into the other person anymore. Your job is to enter into the Creator. And from that place, let the Creator touch all those that it wants to. And the beauty of that is then the Creator chooses who it wants to give to and how many people and in what capacity, what way, what blessings it wants to give. So I feel like another part of being a conscious, co-creating being is allowing the Creator to also pick what blessings come through to others as well through your channel.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Which just continues to come back to what we started with, is continuing to build that relationship with your Creator, because then it gets more pronounced. That's my interpretation of what you just shared.
And I feel like that's such a perfect place to end this night, what was your t-shirt again? What's your t-shirt? Quality?
God's love language is quality time.
God's love language is quality time. Yeah.
We get the link up here.
And this is why we're here tonight, guys. I know we're wearing pretty clothes and we're all sparkly and we're all white, but the truth is we're here to spend quality time with the Creator. And that's why we're all here. And what's so cool is there's more than 100 of us in this room ready to spend quality time at the same time. That makes it so freaking powerful for all of us to be connecting in channel at the same time. And that's why we're going to be doing an energy healing tonight to manifest our miracles, because let's take advantage of the fact that there's so many connected, faithful people in this room. I mean, I feel like with all of us, we could probably have ripples in the world with all of us in this room tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. This conversation has been incredible. And to the whole point of the conversation, it's that feeling. We have these amazing people in here, and I can feel it. I know you can feel it. Who else can feel the energy in this room?
Yeah.
It's powerful. And that comes from the incredible humans that are in this room, that are continuing to deepen their connection with their Creator. And so, just like Katie said, what an opportunity for us to really dive into this.